At 3:20 in the morning, the Alpine hut was quiet. Outside, the snowfield looked white until the moon slid behind cloud. Then the slope changed, not everywhere. Just a long stain below the ridge, thin and red, like water had remembered something underground. No footprints led to it, no tracks cut through it. The color sat there, quiet, soaking into the surface as dawn held off. People have called it blood snow for centuries. The name sounds old because the site feels older than language. White ground, red bloom. Researchers identify much of this red snow as blooms of Sanguina nivaloides, a microscopic alga adapted to wet snowfields. It does not live frozen inside the crystals. It grows in thin liquid water moving around them, where spring loosens the snow. Those hidden water threads matter. They give the cells space, light, and contact with minerals washing slowly through the mountain. Three-dimensional imaging found wrinkled cell membranes, expanding surface area, and chloroplast structures arranged to catch diffuse light from many directions. The red comes from astaxanthin, a protective pigment that helps the alga endure harsh mountain light and free radical damage. Quietly, think of a creature the size of dust, wearing its own shade, waiting all winter beneath a lid of white. Using Sentinel-2 satellite images, researchers mapped intense red snow blooms across the European Alps over 5 years. The Alpine blooms appear mainly between 2,000 and 3,000 meters, where snow lingers long enough to become a wet habitat. CEA IRIG reports these blooms can cover up to 1.3% of alpine surface area above 1,800 meters. They tend to appear after roughly 50 days of melting, when the snow holds enough liquid water for development. That timing gives the mountain a pulse. Not water arrives first. Then the red life wakes, almost without movement. Darker snow absorbs more solar energy. The red patches lower the surface brightness, nudging the snow toward faster melting. It is not dramatic. No crack opens. No avalanche announces it. The change is quieter than a kettle cooling on a stove. In Greenland, dark pigmented ice algae may account for around a tenth of melt on the west coast by darkening ice. Max Planck researchers report resilient algae can grow despite scarce nutrients, using efficient strategies to colonize exposed ice. The Alps are not Greenland. The organisms differ. The slopes differ. But the lesson repeats. Color changes how ice listens to light. In the Alps, projections suggest red snow blooms may stay stable or slightly decrease as future snow seasons shorten. The question is not simply more bloom or less bloom. It depends on altitude, snow duration, melt timing, and nutrient supply. That is the uneasy part. The red snow is alive, but it is also a weather report written in something living. MinERS notes the ecosystem around Sanguina nivaloides is threatened by climate change and decreased mountain snowfall. Breath. A thing can help melt its own house and still be losing that house. The mountain keeps both truths under the same crust. The alga survives intense light by hiding chlorophyll behind protective red pigment, a biological shade pulled over fragile machinery. Its cysts are not smooth little beads. Imaging revealed folded surfaces, like a sealed thing making more room to breathe. Inside, chloroplasts arranged to receive light scattered through snow, or brightness comes from above, below, and every pale side. Imagine living in a room made of mirrors, water, and cold. Then imagine spring turning all the walls transparent. The bloom needs a narrow season, enough light, enough water. Enough time before the snowpack retreats completely. Satellite mapping helps locate blooms too large and remote for field teams to see from the ground alone. Field sampling still matters. A satellite can see color, but a vial can confirm the cells causing it. From far above, the mountain shows a stain. Up close, it becomes thousands of sealed red rooms, each waiting in meltwater. The species name, Sanguina nivaloides, carries the same unease. Blood-like, snow-dwelling, precise enough to sound like a warning. Names matter at night. They give shape to things we would rather leave as weather, stains, or tricks of tired eyes. The pigment astaxanthin is familiar elsewhere in nature, but here it turns snow into a protective skin. By shielding against oxidative stress, the red pigment lets photosynthesis continue in a place that should burn and freeze at once. That contradiction sits on the tongue. Burn and freeze, wake and vanish. Darken the snow, then ride the water out. Because the red surface absorbs more light, bloom and melt can reinforce each other in a small, local feedback loop. In Greenland, that kind of darkening matters at vast scale, where exposed ice allows algae to spread across the surface. Soft pause. But here in the Alps, the red can be brief, a seasonal bruise that appears only when the snow is already leaving. That is why researchers combine satellites, mountain samples, and cell imaging. Each method sees a different layer of the same red event. The mountain does not explain itself in one language. It uses color, water, altitude, a silence wide enough to hide an ecosystem. Sanguina nivaloides remains mysterious. CEAERIG says it still raises many questions about distribution, life cycle, and climate response. Mystery does not always mean ghosts. Sometimes it means the instrument comes back with a clear signal, and the clear signal is stranger. The cells are adapted to snow, not merely trapped by it. Their structure suggests a life built for brief cold abundance. If you see red snow in the backcountry, consider photographing it from firm ground. Avoid trampling soft alpine surfaces just for a closer look. Consider noting the location, altitude, and date for citizen science reports if a local alpine monitoring program asks for observations, and consider avoiding discolored snow for drinking. It may be biological material, so filter or properly treat melted backcountry water when possible. One simple lesson travels beyond mountains. Dark surfaces streak more sunlight. Snow, pavement, rooftops, ice. Color is never just color. If this quiet kind of science finds you late at night, consider liking or subscribing. It helps keep the lights low here. The bloom is not pollution, not rust, and not spilled mineral dust in the simple sense. It is living color. That makes the sight worse somehow. A stain can be washed away. A bloom has seasons. A bloom comes back. Satellite detection lets scientists watch the same slopes repeatedly, following where red patches appear and where they fail to return. Their 5-year alpine mapping focused on intense blooms, the kind strong enough to stand out against snow from orbit. From orbit, the red is a pixel. From the slope, it is slush on your boot. From the cell, it is shelter. NRS describes liquid water circulating in the snowpack as the space where these algae develop around ice crystals. That wetness is why spring matters. The alga waits for the snow to become less wall and more corridor. The Nature Communications study used cell imaging to connect microscopic shape with survival in a bright, cold, waterlogged world. The image it leaves is small and difficult. Life does not always arrive green. Sometimes it arrives diluted red. An hour, and when the sun rises, nothing screams. The snow just darkens, grain by grain, accepting more heat than it did yesterday. Researchers call this important because changing reflectivity, or albedo, affects how much solar energy snow and ice absorb. In plain terms, whiter snow throws more light away. Redder snow keeps more of it, and keeping light means keeping heat. There is no villain here. Not really. Just cells following water, light, chemistry, and a season that keeps arriving thinner. NRS warns time matters because reduced mountain snowfall threatens the ecosystem built around Sanguina nivaloides. The strongest blooms are not random decorations. They mark where conditions briefly line up: snow, melt, sunlight, altitude, and time. That is why the red snow feels like a message. Not because it speaks. Because it appears only when everything is already changing. One approach is to treat strange snow as habitat. Keep distance, take a careful photo, and let the slope remain intact. For hikers, consider sharing observations with local park staff or alpine researchers, rather than posting exact sensitive locations to crowds. By evening, the stain may look darker. By morning, it may have spread, or drained away, or vanished under new snow. The science is recent, but the unease is old. A white mountainside opening a red eye under spring light. So if you ever cross an alpine pass and see diluted red in the snow, do not hurry to name it away. Stand still, listen to the meltwater. The mountain is not bleeding. It is waking, and the waking has a color.